Welcome, and thank you for downloading this week Take Aim Outdoors, the Bow Hunters Podcast. Whitetail hunting stories, tips, and gears from across country. And now, here is your host, Brandon Hammonds.
All right, boys and girls, we are live, brand new episode of Take Aim Outdoor Podcast, and excited to get another show out to you guys, and excited to get a gear review show. Haven't done one in a while, but excited to talk about this product I use, and excited to have Steve Wignitz on the show today from Lakewood Bow Cases. How you doing, Steve?
I'm doing well. How's everybody else?
I'm doing well today. So where are you guys located, Steve? Is it Wisconsin, is that correct?
Correct. Yeah, we're right outside of Green Bay, Wisconsin.
Okay, good deal. How's the Wisconsin weather right now?
Wet.
Wet?
It's been
You guys
wet.
are getting rain?
We've been getting rain a lot. So hopefully the farmers will appreciate it as it gets warm, and everybody that's put food plots in.
Yeah, for sure. I'm in located in southern Michigan. In the last 2 weeks, about maybe 16, 17 days now, it's been extremely warm, and we haven't had any rain, so everybody's kind of starting to get a little nervous. But we've had yesterday and day before, we had kind of little speckles of rain, and kind of eased everybody's mind a little bit. But if you guys are getting it, hopefully eventually we're going to get it over here in Michigan.
Well, I'd be happy to send it over to you.
So, Steve, tell me a little bit about yourself and kind of how you got started or into, developing this case with Lakewood Bow Cases.
Well, I'm actually in the sewing business. We run a sewing company called Midwest Textile. And years ago, gosh, I think probably nearing 20, 25 years ago, we used to sew for a company called Lakewood. And at the time, they were brand new. They had archery, they had gun, they had fishing, tackle boxes. And they were about 2.5 hours away from me, and because I'm in the sewing business, they needed a contractor, so I started doing business with them. That only lasted a short period of time. Just didn't work out because of logistics. So I kind of forgot about them for about 5 years, and then a spin-off company of theirs was called Metroline, which are dart cases. And I ended up buying that company. And the product, even though it's for darts, it's very similar in how it's made to Lakewood. And then about 13 years ago, I got a phone call from a new owner of Lakewood, and said, "Hey, we've decided to retire, and we're selling the company, and we think you might be a good candidate." So, about 2 months later, I own the company, and then we started from there. The products weren't what I consider to be anywhere near the kind of quality they are today. So it took a few years to hone them down to where they are today, and the fact that we can be very proud of what we produce.
Yeah, for sure. That's super interesting. That's neat that it started with a dart company, and that's pretty cool.
Yeah, we still own the company today. It's the premier case company, and with all of the imports that have knocked us off through the years, it's amazing that we're still doing extremely well. I think last year we were up 18%. The
Wow.
dart industry itself is doing well, and so it gave us a basis to start with when Lakewood came around. And like I said, the product really wasn't what I wanted it to be at the time, and we had received a company that was a little bit in turmoil, so I ended up moving it up here. It was about two hours away from me, and I moved it up here, and we had an old wood shop, and a lot of the stuff was made out of wood. And I have a friend of mine that's in the laser business, and he came in and he says, "You need a laser." So we ended up buying a laser, and it's one of the best things I've ever done because it enabled us to use a very, very good substrate called ABS on our products, and it's been darn near indestructible.
That's pretty unique. So we're switch topics on to, from darts to the bow cases. So where did the idea for this bow case that totally is shaped from, or different shape from anything else, basically in the industry come from?
Well, I got to say, when I bought the company, he had the bow file, what we call the bow file now, the drop-in case. So unfortunately, when I bought the company, the ATA was 3 weeks later, and the guy I bought the company from backed out on me, so I ended up going to the ATA by myself. The Archery Trade Association, I'm sorry, for anybody that doesn't know what that is. That's our big show for the year for archery, and I ended up going to that show not really knowing a thing about what I was looking at, other than the fact that I was a very avid bow hunter. So I looked at the product while I was there, and I didn't like it, quite frankly, and I did everything I could to not sell anything. So we came back, and we totally redid the product. And so we had the basis of the drop-in design. It just wasn't where I thought it needed to be as a bow hunter. So we spent a tremendous amount of time and efforts to find other bow hunters that were much more qualified than I, that spent a lot of time in the woods to get their feedback. And that's how we ended up with the type of design that we have today.
Steve, what was the first year you guys were at ATA?
Pardon me, I'm sorry.
What was the first year you guys went to ATA show?
Oh, gosh, I can't tell you. I don't remember.
No. Been a while?
It's been a while, yeah. It was some time ago, and it was an interesting ATA for me because I learned a lot. And fortunately, I got some support from Bowtech back then, and we have the ability of being able to embroider names and logos onto our cases because of the type of design that we have. And I went to visit a couple different bow manufacturers, and Bowtech was one that came back to me and said, sure, we'll let you put our logo on your case. And that kind of started a little bit of a snowball and gave me some validity in the industry as well.
Yeah, for sure. I'm sure that was a big hit, and a big pickup for you guys. What I was going to ask, next question beyond the ATA was, what did you notice or kind of accomplish? All right, guys, we had a little pause there. I'll get all that fixed and edited out. But what I was asking, Steve, and I don't think you heard me, was what kind of changed between, let's say, year 1, 2, or 3 at ATA and where you kind of noticed you had some traction?
Well, the case at the ATA, I knew I had something that nobody else had, and it's something I wanted. It was kind of interesting. About a year before I bought the company, I went up to Newfoundland, and I needed a case. And I looked everywhere for a drop-in case, and there was one on the market, and I really didn't care for it at the time. So I ended up buying a hard case, so to speak. And by the time I came home, it was the latches were broke and it was totally busted. And I said, there's got to be a better way. And then again, about a year later, I ended up falling into the Lakewood purchase. So it was exactly what I was looking for, but it needed some refinements. It was too wide. It was too heavy. It didn't have the departments in it that it has today. And what I was looking for is here in Wisconsin, it gets cold, obviously. And it gets wet, between the mud and the snow. I always hated taking a traditional case and laying it out on the ground because, the back of your truck is always full. So, there's never enough room to open up a traditional case. So you end up putting it on the ground. And I've lost arrows, I've lost releases, just because when you open it up, you try stuffing as much stuff in there as you can, and it just simply falls out. And I just hated it. And I always said, just give me something I can just drop my bow into and zip it up and be done with it. And that was the premise of how we started with the type of case that we sell today.
Yeah, absolutely. So while we're talking about it, Steve, let's paint a picture for, everybody listening. What does the case sort of look like, resemble, and how does it differ from, the layout, lay on the ground kind of cases that everybody so commonly sees?
Well, our case is about 9 inches wide, let's say 16 inches high, about 41 to 45 inches long, depending upon the model. So it's a big rectangle box is what it is. And it opens from the top. So it's very unique that it doesn't zip open and spread out like a conventional case. So you simply unzip the top, open up the top, and there's a divider in the middle. So you can take your bow with your quiver on, full of arrows, and just drop it into the compartment. It's incredible. It's as easy as easy can ever be. And then on the other side of that compartment, there's two other compartments, and one is for our optional arrow case, which holds up to 12.5 arrows, and then an accessory case for obvious accessories with broadheads and tools and field points or whatever. And that has its own separate compartment. So when you open the case up and you look, you can see a case over on the left that's standing upright, and you can see a case down on the bottom, which of course is the arrow case. It still has enough room for a bow, again with a quiver on full of arrows. So it's totally self-contained, and that's why it's so different than anything else in the industry. And people that see it look at it and say, why did somebody else think of that? And anybody that when they bought one and they got it in, after they use it, I always say you have to use it to appreciate it, and then let me know what you think. And we have an unconditional money-back guarantee. If you get the product and you don't like it, send it back. And I've had one in the last 2 years that somebody sent back out of the thousands that we've sold. So when people get it, they actually come back to us and say, I just love this case, because it was designed by people that hunt all the time. So that's essentially where everything came into play.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I know, like a lot of my listeners, I'm a diehard bow hunter, and it fits exactly what, a bow hunter needs. And, it's such a space saver, and it's so different than, like the layout cases that open like a book, and you need so much extra room just to even open the case, but let alone just in your truck, compared to, a layout case. When you have to put it vertical to save space, you're in jeopardy of everything falling and knocking stuff around. And your case is totally different in that aspect. You don't have to worry about your gear being bumped or moving a sight pin on accident or something like that, because it's so snug in the case. So it's phenomenal if you guys haven't seen it. But another cool thing is it's soft-sided, but it's hard at the same time. So explain some of that and the durability of the case.
Well, we call it a soft-sided hard case. And essentially we have a little different technology than other people in the industry, where we make a hard case. We have a laser cutter that cuts out to exact dimensions, and we have a system on how we put it together, and then we sew a bag. And we use very, very good materials. And once that bag is made, again, we're in the sewing industry. We've been doing it for 30 years. We have a good idea of what we're doing. We take that box and we stuff it inside this bag. And then we adhere it to the box, and that would be the soft side. And, of course, the hard case is the hard case. And, people look at it and say, oh, geez, you can't really travel airlines with that, can you? And I get that all the time, every show that we get. And, the great thing about what we've just been talking about is the fact that it has such a small footprint in the back of your truck that all you have to do simply is pull it out, grab your bow, and go. Or pull it out, put your bow in it, and go. So, the back of the truck case is phenomenal, but there's a lot of people that travel, and I'm fortunate enough to have been in other places that I've needed a good solid case to go to, and our case absolutely fits the bill because of the way it's built, and there's so much space inside. Even though it's a small footprint, there's still enough space inside where I tell everybody, just put your arrows away, take your quiver off, and fill it up with your hunting clothes. And I just had a friend of mine that did a shoot out in North Dakota recently, and he said he didn't take a suitcase because he had to bring his bow. He brought his bow case, put all of his stuff in his bow case, grabbed a day pack, and that's what he flew from Michigan to North Dakota with to do his shoot. So when people are hunting, what I tell them is load it up with your hunting clothes, your garments. People put their boots in there. My gosh, they put everything in there. And what that does is solidifies the bow inside the case, so the case doesn't move around. And that way we don't have to put a strap system, for example, in to hold the bow down, because once you have your clothes in there, it's just nice and snug inside of it. And, we just don't get complaints. And we certainly don't get them broken. People travel with them all over the world. I have friends of mine that can easily document 100,000 miles airline travel. So it's so unique in the way it's made, but it's so tough at the same time. Hence the soft-sided hard case. We like the soft side because you can put it inside an SUV without scratching everything up, and it looks good. You can put your name on it. You can put your, you can put Bowtech on it or Matthews on it, Elite on it. So you can, customize it as well. And that's one of the nice things about having the soft side compared to a all hard case.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm excited to hear you kind of mention that, Steve, about the travel, because I'm actually going to Alberta this year. So, again, you're telling me I'm absolutely totally safe being able to, to check that in the luggage and fly to Alberta with my bow in there.
Without fail.
Without fail.
Without fail.
That's great.
In fact, I can send you a picture of I think there were 6 of us in Africa. And out of the 6, 5 of us had Lakewood cases. So I actually have a picture of it on a luggage cart waiting to be picked up in Johannesburg. And it's really cool seeing all the Lakewood cases. And, of course, they're stacked up on the sides, on top of one another, whatever. And as long as you fill it up with clothes, just to keep your bow from moving around, you'll have no problem. And like I said, I've been to Africa a couple times and other places. I have good friends of mine that have been all over the world. So, yeah, would never hesitate to take it anywhere.
All right. Well, that's good to know. I mean, that's like a weight off my shoulders, because I'd been on the website and read it was, safe for airline travels, but, you just don't know. But it's super exciting to hear that you and so many people have used it on airlines and have had no issues. That's a huge to hear that kind of information. And,
everybody looks at it and says, really? You can? And yeah, absolutely. It just doesn't, I've got people that stand on it, and we can walk on it. It's a lot stronger and tougher than it looks. And, most of the world now has gone to a soft-sided luggage to begin with, just because the hard-sided breaks. The problem with even traditional cases is the latches and the hinges tend to break because they get beat up. And the other nice thing about going through the airport with these is, I always advocate not using a camo, is to go with a black, because once you're in the airport and you hand your bow case or gun case or whatever it may be, once you hand it to TSA, it's out of your hands at that point. So if they don't really know for sure what it is, it tends to be looked at differently than some of the traditional cases on the market.
Yeah, I agree. You're basically not walking through the airport with a big shiny disco ball going off is basically what it means. You're being way more discreet. You're not asking TSA, so to speak, to, hey, check my stuff out.
And we all love to be proud of the fact that we're hunters. I don't ever back down from that. But again, once something's out of your control, you have to do everything you can to maintain that. And we have a lot of people in the airports today that are anti-hunters, and they purposely do things to our weapons, and there's no question. We've talked to enough people that all say the same thing, and so we try to do is minimize that as much as possible by staying away from maybe a camel, for example.
Yeah, absolutely. I think you're spot on with that. And Steve, I know there's a couple different cases you guys offer, but give me a little rundown on cases you do offer and maybe some of the accessories for those cases real quick.
Our main case is a 41 inch. It's 41 inches long. It fits probably 80 to 85% of the bows on the market. And then we have a 45 inch for the little bit longer bows. We have a 41 inch double. New last year. It's really nice. You can leave your quiver on. You can still put the arrow case and accessory case inside of the double. The arrow case and accessory cases, again, are options, but we do sell them as a combo unit. And to me, I just think it's the best package possible. And we gave a lot of dealers at the ATA last year incentives to buy the combos from us, and virtually most of them did. And as a result of it, the success was phenomenal, because there's nothing else like it on the market to be able to hold basically everything you need to go to a shoot or go to your hunting site and have it totally self-contained. You don't have to have tackle boxes and all the other things that people use to store all of their equipment in.
Yeah, I think that bow case combo is the only way to go. So with that, you get the actual arrow case and a accessory or little, we'll call it toolbox kit. Is that correct, Steve?
That's correct. Yeah,
that is the ticket, because we all of us should always have your Allen wrench set or multi-Allen wrench, a couple extra string loops, stuff like that, some knocks, and man, what a great way to travel is to have a little case for all that stuff right in your bow case.
Especially if you miss, it's nice to have more broadheads.
yeah, broadheads too. Yeah, everything can fit nicely in that little accessory case, which is super, super cool. And it's always nice to have, which you've probably seen this in your travels, Steve, your arrow fletchings alone take a beating anytime you travel. They get squished or bent, or, a tail end or bottom end of a fletching will come off, and it always seems like that happens when you're traveling.
It does, and you're at the mercy of the airlines, number one, but you're at the mercy of your travel. And if you're going, for example, when I went to Africa, when you get there, I mean, that's a lot of travel. It's a long ways away from anything, and all of a sudden you look and it's like I lost my release, or the arrows are bent, or whatever. I mean, it's catastrophic. And I know when I went, I actually set up some arrows with broadheads, and I was able to put those into the arrow case, because the arrow case zips up, so it's totally independent of the case itself. So you never have to worry about your string at that point, where so many traditional cases have the arrows inside the case, so you can't put anything on those, because you're always afraid of those popping out and getting into the actual compartment of where your bow is, and that's where the fletchings and the arrow problems come into play. So we looked at it and said, we have to keep this independent of the bow area, and that's the reason we came out with that arrow case.
Yeah, that's spot on for that, because like you said, it's the travel that puts you in jeopardy with your gear, so that's awesome. So, Steve, if somebody's interested in the Lakewood products, where can we find them at, or where can they find them?
Well, the best thing to do is go to lakewoodproducts.com, and we have a nice website there. We have some nice videos, some training, some informative things. If you want to find a local dealer, we have a dealer locator on the website as well.
Yeah, that's perfect. So is there anything on the horizon you can talk about for Lakewood, products coming out we should be looking for?
Oh, not that I want to talk about today.
Okay. I figured that'd be the answer, but I thought I'd ask. So
yeah, we have a couple things that we're introducing at the ATA, and to be fair to our dealers, we hold off until we get there. Last year we introduced a wheel kit for the Traveler. And the wheel kit is great, and that was the only thing that we didn't have prior to. So we introduced that last year. We did a year's worth of testing before we came out with it. So we introduced that at the show as well as the new double case. So that was received extremely well, and we've had a lot of fun with it.
Absolutely. Well, you can't blame me for asking, right, Steve?
Absolutely.
So with that said, Steve, Are you guys on social media? People can reach out to you there as well?
And we will be on Instagram shortly.
Okay. And you yourself, what do you have planned this coming hunting season? Are you excited about?
I'm excited to go back out to Montana. We have a beautiful ranch that we've been fortunate enough to hunt for the last 5 years. And a friend of mine's father has been going to this ranch since 1961. And he is 87 years old this year, and he plans on coming back. And he's gotten a deer every year that we've gone out there for the last 5 or 6 years. So that's going to be exciting again.
Yeah, that's cool. What time of year are you going there?
First part of November.
Oh, okay. Perfect. Well, good luck on that trip, and thanks for taking the time to be with us today on the show. And hopefully we will be in touch again, and we'll do another podcast here shortly, maybe after your hunting trip.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
All right, Steve, take care. And boys and girls, as you know, you can find the show live every Tuesday or Wednesday, Outdoor Podcast Channel, podbros.com, and we'll see you guys next week.